Welcome to another episode of No Talking During the Movies. I am your host, Stephen Austin.
And I'm a guy who looks like he sleeps on bus station chairs. Tank.
Tank is happy that this podcast has got another year under its belt,
Woo!
where I still kind of can't believe Tank likes doing it still.
It's a lot of fun, and it's less aggressive than the other podcasts we do.
Well, in that one, in the video game podcast, it's just a lot of insults being thrown around. In this, I feel like we're on the same wavelength with just about everything.
I feel like we as human beings, we have several different sides to our personality, and
Sure.
this one allows me to service the side that is a cinephile and that loves exploring emotions.
Oh, yeah.
I have a very high emotional IQ. Not to brag, but like my emotional IQ is very high, so I love that part of movies.
Yeah, and I do
So,
too. I really like exploring the emotional depths that film can give us. And
mhm.
honestly, for what we're reviewing a little bit later today, there was a lot of emotions in the air, and
Eh, It was, yeah.
yeah, we'll be
And,
talking about it.
and don't get it twisted. I'll still watch Passenger 57 at 2 o'clock in the morning like I did last night.
Really?
Yeah.
All right. Um, So, if you're watching this on YouTube, me and Tank both are decked out in some Star Wars gear. I've got a Chewbacca t-shirt and my Rebellion jacket, and Tank is rocking his Baby Yoda Grogu hat that I got him for Christmas yesterday.
It was a very sweet gift, very
That's
thoughtful.
that's my brag. I realized yesterday when we did that podcast, all of our gifts, it was a video game podcast, but all of our gifts were movie related. And then
That's funny.
I'm the only one who gave a video game thing to Justin, and that was it.
Right. Yeah, no, that's funny. I didn't even think about that. Well, I guess
Well, no,
Justin's
your
Justin
gamer tag.
Tao is his name, his user
Right.
tag.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
you know what's funny is that's shipped already. Like it wasn't supposed to be until January 12th,
Oh,
but it's on
really?
its way now. So that's awesome.
Oh, so he's gonna get it early.
Yeah. And technically Scott Pilgrim is a video game as well.
That is true. Good point. But you even said it on the podcast. You're like, yeah, it's from his favorite movie. I'm
Oh
like,
yeah.
he
Yeah.
knows me.
I was gonna buy you the car from Baby Driver, but I'm poor, so
Yeah, I would have liked that. Maybe
bell
next year.
bottoms.
So our question today is related to what we're wearing. It's Star Wars. It's Mandalorian because today's the finale episode of us recapping season 2. We will definitely be doing this again for season 3. It was way too much fun. Like
So good.
there's no reason not to. So, Tank, what has been your favorite moment from season 2 of The Mandalorian? If it is a moment that happened in this episode, then we can answer it later when we're actually spoiling.
Well, this episode was full of great moments.
Yes,
It really
it was.
was. Fantastic moments. Um, this show is full of redemptions.
Yeah.
I think that's like a big theme of this show. My favorite moment has to do maybe a little bit because it was Bill Burr, but the conversation that they were the Bill Burr story arc in
Yeah.
the penultimate episode to me is like one of the most incredible in-depth dives into the struggle between the Empire and the Rebellion, and it basically comes down to the poor people around the galaxy. It doesn't matter to them
Yeah.
who's in charge because their life's the same. So that was interesting. But the best moment I thought was Bill Burr sitting at the table talking to one of the commanding officers
Yes.
and talking to him about a war that he didn't have to be on the front lines for. Bill Burr's character lost friends and saw people die, saw
Operation
the horrors.
Cinder.
It's very, very reminiscent of like a Vietnam or something
Yeah.
like that, where a politician or an officer who didn't have to fight is cheering about the way the glory went, but he didn't have to see the horror.
Yeah.
So the way that Bill Burr's character was talking about the war and honestly, you never really think of Star Wars that way.
No.
Because you don't see blood.
You rarely don't think of the war part of Star Wars all that much.
Right. And
Yeah.
even though it's in the title,
Yeah.
a lot of times it just feels like they're playing laser tag, but at the same time, when you realize what's actually happening, and you see a guy talking about it, even from the
Yeah,
bad guy's perspective, it really kind of brings something, another dimension to the whole thing, and I thought that was amazing. And I'm a big fan of Bill Burr's. I listen to his podcast and everything like that. And
right.
he doesn't like to watch himself, but he wanted to watch that scene to see how he did. And I thought he did great. And that
He did.
also, was a pretty pivotal moment for Mando,
I agree.
because he had taken his mask off.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Which he doesn't, like against his rules.
Yeah. That's
So
yeah, that whole last episode really I think every episode this season has been pretty killer.
amazing.
I don't think we had a single episode where I was like, man, not so much. Like even the episode with transporting the frog lady, like that seems to be everybody's like, well, that one's not that great. And I'm like, what are you like when they were under in that frost cavern and all the freaking spiders things
That
showed
was
up?
terrifying.
Are you kidding me? Like that's the horror of space that you're seeing in Star Wars that we get to see ever so often.
Mhm.
Um, and I really enjoyed that. But I will say my favorite moment. Can you guess what my favorite moment is? It's not from this last episode
Okay.
that we're talking about today.
How about when he goes to duel with the lady in the town?
No.
Okay. I know what it is. Oksana Bayul, when she shows up in the jungle. Rosario Dawson's character.
Ahsoka Tano.
Yeah,
Or
yeah,
as I said
Oksana
in
Bayul, that's what I said.
or as the time that we talked about it on this podcast, Ahsoka Tano. I still can't believe she's live action. I still can't believe it. I still,
That was dope. That was dope.
and seeing her on the big screen, but seeing her in live action was just too much for me. As somebody who really loves those additional animated TV shows, Clone Wars and Rebels, seeing her was just like, oh, cool. It's all real. like, cause like Operation Cinder, that thing that Bill Burr's character was talking about, that was in books, but I feel like the larger amount of people who knew what it was from video games.
Mm.
That I believe Operation Cinder also was a very pivotal role in some video games that they did. And I remember playing that and thinking, man, this is crazy. I really hope this is canon. And when he said Operation Cinder, I was like, oh my God, it's canon. That's awesome. So that is really, really cool. But Ahsoka Tano is a character that, like, I've spent so many years with. And honestly, her doing the jump from animation to live action is pretty incredible. And I'm excited to see that we're going to get her own series and get to explore more of what she's been up to. So that'll be really, really cool.
I feel like it's really good casting too.
Oh, she's perfect. She's so perfect. But yeah, so that's my favorite moment. Though I will say this episode almost beat it out, and we will get to that at the end of our episode. But real quick, we're gonna go into trailers, news, and then we'll do our spoiler recap of this finale, which I still can't believe it's already the finale. But anyways,
Crazy.
our first trailer is something that the moment I typed it in, I was like, this is gonna be so great what Tank has to say about this. And it's a CW show, which immediately I was like, oh God, here we go.
Yeah.
It's called Walker. Tank?
Well, first off, it's a cover of Walker, Texas Ranger, which you can't have Walker, Texas Ranger without goddamn Chuck Norris.
I completely agree.
That's blasphemy. Second of all, had potential until you found out it's from CW, because CW turns everything into a goddamn melodrama.
I thought the same thing.
Everything looked really cheaply produced. It looks really bad. The dialogue looks awful. I'll say this, the idea of a Western modern drama, even though it's kind of hard to do it with Justified,
right? We've seen it
and Existing and Longmire, both modern westerns that are pretty untouchable when it comes to great TV series. The kid Jordan Padalecki, is that his name?
Paladinsky? I
No,
don't
it's Padalecki's his last name, but he's from Supernatural.
know. Yes, he's Sam.
Yeah, so the kid from Supernatural in a western has
Yeah,
potential,
I thought he
but
looked
on
good.
an on another network, on
Yes.
another network, and not CBS, not ABC. I'm talking like FX
Yes,
or
when I
A and
saw
E.
when I saw it was him, I was like, "Oh, I can get behind this casting. I believe in this." And then it said CW, and I was like, "Nah, he's not really leaving too far from home, is he?" Like,
No, absolutely not. And it's because they probably it's when you're doing a show, I gotta imagine you have that steady income, even though CW isn't like one of the top tier networks and they
sure,
probably don't pay top tier. But when you've got a steady paycheck, it's probably a scary thought to leave and walk away from that as an
right?
actor.
Because
So
Supernatural
they
ended
come
recently.
they come to you with this thing and they're like, oh, that's just more steady paycheck. And it'll probably do okay because his cult fans will follow over and then,
Sure.
you know, but it's just like he's not Chuck Norris. So what are we
No.
doing?
Yeah,
Yeah, like
it really huge boots to fill.
literally.
Literally. Like I don't
And like,
see
what's the
him doing too
reasoning?
great.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like,
oh
he's not a
yeah.
karate guy. There's
No.
no, I mean, there's no correlation. Like, it doesn't make sense that they would just make it a Walker.
I don't like that the logo. This is kind of picky, but I don't like that the logo says Walker and then it's like the badge behind it and it clearly says Texas Ranger and I was like,
Right.
"Screw you. We know what it is. We know
We
what it
know,
is."
we know what you're trying to do, and he's got a
Yeah.
dead wife, which was what happened in Longmire. You know what I
Oh yeah.
mean? So it's just the same. It's just the same as it ever was, and we're just getting reboots.
Yeah,
You
that's
know,
all it is. But you know what? We need some original content.
they
What?
put the boot in reboot.
Hey, the cowboy boots. We need some
That's
original content,
yeah.
and it looks like we're about to get some, but unfortunately, it's on Apple. So I
What's
was
so
like,
funny
oh
is
no.
because I want to get Apple
I do too.
because Ted Lasso looks amazing.
Ted Lasso's on Apple. Jon Stewart has his own show coming out on Apple. Like he's coming back, which that was reason enough for me to be like, maybe I should get Apple. And then this, like, there's been a couple movies this past year, and this one that they showed the trailer for looks really, really good. I think. So this is called Palmer. Tank, what'd you think of the Palmer trailer?
Looks great, man. Justin Timberlake coming through strong, man.
Yeah.
Looks like a real star-making performance for him.
Mm-hmm.
Um, very powerful trailer.
Yes.
Uh, the whole thing was really emotional. Great music in the trailer, and you mentioned that they do give away a lot of the story
They give
in the.
away a lot in the trailer.
So it'll be interesting to see what's left for us as viewers.
Yeah.
But it's definitely the kind of thing that makes me interested in perhaps getting Apple TV.
Well, yeah, because the trailer, even though it showed us a lot, it was still like after I watched it, I was like, I would watch this movie like in a heartbeat. This looks great.
Yep.
Justin Timberlake looks like he's really putting on a really great performance from at least what I saw in the trailer. It's dealing with very not only topical issues, but also issues I think that have been around forever, like somebody who's been reincarcerated and is that the right word? Reincarcerated? No.
I mean,
Come
it
from
works,
jail.
yeah.
Yeah, come from jail, and everybody's treating him differently because of it. Even though, from what I could tell, he's really trying his best here. I don't know. It looks really good, and I'm pretty excited for it. And like you said, it's like might be another subscription.
I mean, it sucks, but here's the thing: we're thinking about just doing the trial subscription so we can watch
Ted Lasso,
uh,
right?
Ted Lasso.
So what you do is you wait for this movie to come out.
Here's the thing, though: like if I drop my YouTube subscription,
Mm.
and pick that up, then you don't feel it. But I like not watching commercials on YouTube.
I understand. As somebody who does watch commercials on YouTube, it's pretty annoying. The other day, I got a documentary as an ad. It was literally an hour-long documentary as an ad, and it said I could skip it in 5 seconds, which was fine. But I was just like, how who is watching video game video like like let's play videos, and then they get the hour-long ad and they go, hold on, I do want to learn about Napoleon.
I mean, he is interesting. He is an interesting cat.
I can't imagine somebody being like, I'll take a break from this Cyberpunk 2077 review and I'll watch Napoleon. But yeah, I get what you mean. It's adding another subscription, which is a pain, and kind of switching is what you probably would have to do to not feel it.
I originally got it for Cobra Kai, but now that that's over at Netflix,
yeah.
you know, I mean,
it's true.
I feel like it was a mistake letting that go to Netflix, because I was like, I bet they lost a lot of subscriptions because of that.
Probably, and Netflix just gaining more.
I mean, really, for sure.
But yeah, those are our two trailers. Walker, no. Palmer, yeah, I'm interested. I'm really interested enough to almost look at another subscription service. But okay, so we're gonna get into some news. Tank, are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
Okay, so I guess we'll go for the lighter one. I do want to know how you feel about this. So last week we talked about HBO Max and the Warner Brothers deal, that Warner Brothers will be releasing every film slated for 2021 onto HBO Max the same day it goes in theaters. Huge, huge news. Right. Hollywood thinks it's really big news too, and they hate it.
Well, of course they do. Why wouldn't they?
Yeah. So it's like Hollywood stars, producers, and even the big theater companies are all so not okay with this HBO deal. And, there's been a lot of outrage about it, to the point where AMC theaters even teased that they might lower the prices for Warner Brothers movies in 2021 so low that they wouldn't make a return on it. That's how petty this has gotten. Which is pretty crazy. Like, I can't believe that that it's going this big, because it's clearly a sign that, like, yeah, it could be the steady decline of movie theaters. But I didn't expect everybody to be like, boycott Warner Brothers.
Well, it's not a steady decline of movies. It's COVID induced. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
totally.
It's all because people can't go to theaters, and frankly, both sides have a decent argument.
Sure.
You know what I mean? But when it all comes down to it, Warner can do whatever the hell they want because it's their product. And honestly, if the movie theaters take the movies out of their theaters, they're the ones who lose.
Yeah, totally, absolutely. And I'm trying to remember who's doing the new Dune movie, because they said something really interesting.
It's on HBO Max. Yeah,
it will be going on HBO Max. I never say the name right. Denis Villeneuve. I can never say his name right. Anyways, he essentially said, like, this deal just killed the Dune franchise. Like, he truly believes that because of this deal, Dune will not be able to go on and continue their movies because of it.
Why?
I don't know. I guess he really thinks that less people would be seeing the movie if it's on HBO Max, which doesn't make sense to me.
I feel like, to me personally, I feel like your movie is going to get so much more exposure on a streaming service, because first of all, people right now, especially, aren't going to movie theaters. Mm-hmm. Number one. Number two, initially, even before all this, less people would go to movie theaters. Movie theater experience, as great as it is very expensive.
It is.
You and one other person at the movies, if you get snacks, you're looking at a $70 night.
Yeah.
As opposed to a $13 a month subscription.
Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously, what and the movie isn't making the lion's share of that money. You know what I mean? That money is mostly going to the snacks.
Well, yeah, that's
$10-12 a person to see the movie, right? So
keep the theater industry alive.
So honestly, like, I don't see it as. Now, here's the thing. It might be harder to justify a $180 million budget for a movie if you can't see physical returns. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So, like, if you put Dune in movie theaters and it makes $400 million, you know
Hmm.
that you're getting a return on your investment because you can pinpoint exactly how much it's made. Now, if you're using Dune as a part of your lineup of shows, you can watch how many people watch that, but that isn't necessarily creating revenue.
I get what you mean. And I also, to jump on that point, I do feel like the release of a major motion picture on a streaming service in the back of my mind goes, cool, I can watch that whenever
Right.
instead of watching it right now.
Hmm.
Which is interesting because there are movies that I'm like, oh yeah, when Christmas comes around and we got Wonder Woman and we'll have Soul.
Yep.
Those are two movies I want to watch right away. I don't know how quickly I'm actually going to watch them though. You know what I
Right.
mean? Because it's on a streaming service and I can get to it whenever I feel like it.
Right.
So that could also be in the minds of people where, like you said, you're not seeing a physical return because it's really just subscription purchases, right?
Hmm.
So yeah, it's interesting. I get their outrage and I understand their fury with the deal.
Well, see, here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. Their outrage is kind of impotent because honestly, it's like being mad at your neighbor for what he does with his yard.
It's true.
You know what I mean? Like it's their shit. They can do whatever they want with it.
Yeah.
And they're mad because you know, it's part of their livelihood and it could affect them. But really at the end of the day, they don't get a say in it.
They
They're just,
don't. And
you know,
yeah, no, I totally get what you mean. And yeah, it's a very interesting. It's such an interesting dilemma because it's a world we've never lived in before. The idea that all these major
right.
motion pictures are going onto a streaming service, it's very different, and I don't even think I've fully processed the effects of it. Um,
It's hard to say,
yeah,
because we don't know yet. And honestly, like I feel like there is evidence that it must be working
yeah,
because Disney wouldn't do it if it didn't work.
it's true.
You
Um,
know, the Mulan thing, the Mulan situation. I think they learned from that. I think nobody's paying $30 to watch that movie at home.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Especially when you could buy it for 20 in a few months and see it for free. So I think that Soul was an example of them saying, "Okay, here you go.
yeah,
Take this."
totally.
You know? And stuff like that. It gets more people to subscribe. Here's the question: does it get enough people to subscribe to make it worthwhile to continue making these big budget blockbusters? I just don't know.
And
I don't know the answer to that.
I think that's what this year is gonna be for HBO Max
Right.
and Warner Brothers. It's really a testing ground because if it is successful and they know it's successful, that's a bad sign for movie theaters. If
Mhm.
it's just a we'll try and see what happens and it doesn't really show that much for returns, then or more subscriptions, then movie theaters are going to be staying on strong, and by that point, hopefully by the end of this next year, like COVID will be a distant memory and people will go back to
Mhm.
movie theaters happy go lucky.
But will they go back to movie theaters when you've got so many options? And honestly, that's kind of what has happened to that industry as a
Already,
whole.
yeah.
Even before all of this, even before you could get Wonder Woman on streaming service, you could get other movies on a streaming service. And if you've got the opportunity to stay home and watch a movie and save yourself $80, why wouldn't you do that?
It's true. Or start a new TV show that everybody's rambling on about, like Tiger King.
Yep,
It's like
absolutely.
it's a very interesting world we live in. There's too much content at all times.
I
And
mean, it really is. Yeah.
speaking speaking of content, Tank, I'm the one who sends the topic podcast, but you and me were gaming the other night, and you were like, "Yo, we need to talk about this." And I was like, "Yes, we do." So Tom Cruise on the set of Mission Impossible 7, still can't believe they're on 7. Um, lost his cool at a couple of crew members not wearing masks, and the audio from his rant is pretty crazy. But yeah, Tank, have you heard the audio?
I have heard the audio. Yeah.
Okay, so basically in the audio, he is berating these people. They use that in articles, berating, but the problem is he's speaking, you have to wear the mask or the industry shuts down and we don't have a job.
Here's the problem that I see with it, because what he's saying, the words that he's saying are correct.
Yes, I know where you're going with this.
Because he is, he was given special permission because they're filming all over the world.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which is like in this time really unheard of.
Yeah.
So the rant starts with "We are the gold standard."
Yes.
Which means that the production company that's putting that together is expected to be safer and perform better than all the other studios. And he is saying that what you're doing is putting that standard at risk.
Yes.
And you're risking shutting down this whole thing. And thusly, this is a litmus test for the entire industry.
For the entire movie industry right now.
If this doesn't work out for us now, thousands and thousands of people will lose their jobs, lose their homes.
Yep.
He is very impassioned and he is very empathetic in this. Now, where he begins to cross lines,
yes,
is where he starts calling people MFers.
Yes.
And things like that. Now, his passion and his reasoning are commendable and correct. Right. However, you can't talk to people that way under any circumstances when they are your subordinates, because first of all, it's not the military. Second of all, you're 5'7". Third of all, there's no situation where it's acceptable to berate. That's a proper word. People that work for you. Now, you can threaten to fire them because that's the power you have as a boss. So him saying, if you don't wear your mask, you're gone. If you're too close together, you're gone. That's fine.
Yeah.
But the swearing and the yelling, that makes it too much. You know what I mean?
That's why I would say that's why it became so clickbaity and newsworthy, is because it was a lot of F-bombs, it was a lot of MFers, it was a lot of yelling and screaming at people. But yeah, I like, it's not okay the way he went about it, but I do understand his rage about it, because exactly what he says, that is, it's on his tiny shoulders, is that is all these people's lives, for this gold standard that he's trying to keep up. So when I first saw it, I was like, man, that's crazy, and I kind of moved on from it, and then I kept listening back to it, and yeah, the front of it is, God, I just wish he didn't go about it like this.
Mm-hmm.
But my reaction was, honestly, I get his outrage. I get his frustration. Yeah. And who knows how much of this has been going on already that he's had to shut down. Like, I'm sure he didn't just see 2 crew members without a mask for the first time and go all out 100% like this. There had to have been a couple of like, guys, please, we're trying, no, seriously, and then it became,
they were standing close together around a monitor.
Yeah, watching. Exactly. They were watching something on a monitor with no masks, standing really close. Like, they were doing everything wrong.
Now, this tirade caused 5 people to quit, to walk off set.
Yes, which honestly, because I don't think we know more information about, like, if it was the people that were being like yelled at, or maybe, it went so viral and popular that he was angry that it did, and he, tried to find out who recorded it or anything like that. But if it's the people who left because they weren't doing what they were supposed to, then oh well. But also, if he's just kind of yelling and more because people were recording, then that's a whole other story. But that's all speculation. I don't know why these people quit.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, we don't know what life on the set with him is like. Yeah. And there's a lot going in. I mean, this is literally people's lives on the line. I lost an uncle Tuesday to COVID. You know what I mean? So this is life and death situation. This is a livelihood situation. It's perfectly understandable for him to be upset.
The future of the industry situation.
Absolutely. I remember when I was just getting into radio, they asked me to what we call run the board. That's push buttons for like a
Right.
DJ when he's on location. And I had never done this guy's show before, and I didn't know the process. I didn't know
Like the format,
the,
the
the
way it
the
ran.
format, the way it went.
Yeah.
So I missed hit a button. This guy called me on the phone. I was 20 years old. I was 20 years old, not fat, just thick and angry is
Okay.
what I was. So this guy called me on the phone, and I'll never forget because he said, "What the F is wrong with you? Are you an effing idiot?" And started calling me all kinds of R words and stuff like that. And I just sat there for a second. And I'm not the kind of person that yells. When I get mad, I it kind of like an unsettling calm comes over me. And I said, "Listen, I don't know you. I don't know how to run your show. This is my first time running your board. So I apologize for messing up. But if you ever talk to me like that again, I will put my fist into your eye, and I will keep putting it there until my arm is tired." And I said this, I literally said this to this guy,
Oh my God.
fully aware that this could be the end of my radio career before it gets started.
Yeah.
And I said, "Look, if you want to talk to me like this, I will wait around the studio for you to come back, and we can work it out like a couple of men, or you can tell me how to run the show,
Sure.
and I'll run it right."
Right.
And that dude apologized. He's like, look, man, I'm so sorry. I'm because
He knew he lost his cool.
right, and the thing is, a guy like a Tom Cruise, been famous for 40 years,
Sure.
superstar, maybe a little unstable in some situations, but he's not wrong about what's on the line.
Yes.
He's wrong about the way he approached it.
I agree. I completely agree. And I don't think there's any more to say. It was, if you haven't listened to the footage or the audio, it's pretty crazy. But yeah, it's pretty nuts.
The Christian Bale audio I thought was a lot worse.
Well, that's the thing. I was like, at least, because the difference, I think, Tom Cruise was losing his cool, but Christian Bale was just being an a-hole.
He really comes off as pretentious.
He does, because he's doing the whole like, look at you, you know, he's doing all this, and I'm just like, oh God, you know, it's funny to listen to, but you know that guy on set is like terrified because Batman's yelling at him.
Batman. He's like, I asked you once, where's Rachel? And you've never told me where she's at. I can't find her still.
What was the other one that he does where he's like, what are you doing? I was fixing the lights. Oh, you were fixing the good for you.
Hey, that's a pretty good Christian Bale impression you got there.
Oh, thanks. I was trying to be as mean as possible. I love Christian Bale, but that video,
he's a great actor. He's a great actor.
That audio is amazing.
Yeah. So that actually just gave me my my recommendation for today.
Oh no! Is it Terminator Salvation?
It is not. It is most certainly not.
Well, why don't we get into our recommendations now, since we'll go into The Mandalorian right after. So please is it a Christian Bale film?
It actually is a Christian Bale movie.
Okay, cool.
And the reality is, not a great movie. Here's the thing: it's not a great movie, but individually, 3 or 4 of the best acting performances I've ever seen in a movie. God.
Are you looking up the name? Is that what you're doing?
I just wanted to make sure I got the name right. I knew the name, but I wanted to make sure I got it right. It's called Into the Furnace.
Into the Furnace.
Into the Furnace. It's Casey Affleck, Christian Bale, and they're brothers. And Woody Harrelson is like the, I don't know, like the neighborhood heavy, like the drug dealer, gangster, club owner guy. Mm-hmm. Christian Bale was in jail, and he's kind of a badass, but you know, he's trying to turn his life around. And
out of the furnace.
Out of the furnace?
Out of the furnace.
Out of the furnace. Okay, out of the furnace. See,
I couldn't find it on IMDb, and I was like, where is it? But
I know I screwed up the name.
No, you're good.
But it's one of those movies where it's not a great movie, but the acting performances, for me, made it worthwhile.
6.8 out of 10 on IMDb. That's not bad.
I just didn't like the story, but
Okay.
Um, Christian Zoe Saldana's in it.
Yeah, there's a
Uh,
lot of big names in this. Forrest
yeah, it's
Whitaker,
uh
Whittaker,
Willem Dafoe
Willem
is in it.
Dafoe, Sam
Uh,
Shepard.
and it's like such a it's one of those movies, and maybe I'll watch it again. Maybe I'll take my own recommendation and watch it again with a different view. But it's
Nothing's
just
wrong with
like one of
that.
those movies where it's a working class town and everything about it just feels hopeless.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? And you get that vibe. So um,
So a
you
perfect
know,
holiday film.
absolutely. Or you could watch Jingle All the Way, which I saw for the first time last night.
I still can't believe that was your first time seeing that movie. Did
I
you
when
enjoy
it
it?
came out, I was like too cool for that kind of shit.
Oh,
So
okay. Did you like the movie?
I loved it. I thought it was really fun.
Did
It
you
was
did you buy Arnold Schwarzenegger as a modern American father?
no, because this is why do you do this? You know what I mean? Like he doesn't talk like a normal person, and it honestly bothers me, like to my core, that nobody addresses the fact that this guy's a muscle bound Hercules.
Yes.
Like nobody mentions it. It's just like
What does he do for a living in that movie? Do they go into it?
I believe he sells mattresses in bulk.
So that's why he's so ripped.
Yeah, absolutely. He's just in the
The
warehouse just
mattress
loading up the
industry.
mattresses. So yeah, I it always bothers me. So like whenever Jean-Claude Van Damme's in a movie and they don't address the fact that he knows karate, you know what I
Oh,
mean? Like
sure.
it just always bothers me. It's like, why are we not talking about this? Why are we not talking about how muscular Arnold Schwarzenegger is? But I thought it was a really fun movie. Like
Yeah, it's a
I'd
fun one.
never seen it, and as a kid I would have loved it.
So either Out of the Furnace
Right.
or Jingle All the Way.
Either one, either whatever. It depends. For Christmas, if you have ham, Jingle All the Way. If you have Marlboro Lights, Out of the Furnace.
Well, it's like you said. It's like one has some of the greatest acting performances you've ever seen, and the other is Out of the Furnace. Uh,
I am Turbo Man.
My recommendation is actually kind of a part two to a recommendation I made not too long ago, where I told you to watch Princess Mononoke.
Yeah.
I know you haven't watched it yet, because if you did, you would have called me and told me how much you loved it and that it was a great recommendation, and I should recommend you more, which is what I'm doing now.
Here's the reality: is I'm probably never gonna call you, no matter what.
I bet I had to call you the other day to swing by and drop off your Christmas present, and I bet you were
Yeah.
like, "What the hell is this man doing?"
Hey, hey! Every time my phone rings, I'm like, why in the is somebody calling me? You know what I mean? Because I don't like talking to the phone.
I understand. But so this other Studio Ghibli film that's on HBO Max is one of my favorites, and I believe it's the first Studio Ghibli film. It's very, very good. It's called Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind. Um,
I was gonna write that down, but there's no way I can spell that. You're just gonna have to text that to me.
yeah. You'll definitely, if you go on HBO Max and you look at their like genres, there's a whole Studio Ghibli section, and you can just click on that. And I promise you, Princess Mononoke, Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind, and Spirited Away, all three of those are probably going to be right in your face because they're so good.
I definitely looked at Princess Mononoke
Did
because I
you?
was gonna watch it. Yeah, but I haven't had time.
Please watch it. I think that's the one you'd like the most. But
Okay.
Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind is pretty great too. It's essentially a post-apocalyptic film after essentially like the forest has kind of taken over the world, and it releases, it's kind of like a better version of The Happening. But way cooler, because the forest is toxic and it releases like toxins that will kill you instantly, and it's spreading, and the creatures who live in it spread the forest with it. So humans are essentially living in ruins or these small villages on the outskirts of the forest before it gets to them. And there's this huge valley and desert separating the village that we are kind of, our main character lives in, and the forest. And it's essentially this war going on between the other villages, while at the same time the forest is just getting closer and closer and closer and threatening to take over the world. And it's very, very good. It's one of my personal favorites, but
Sounds awesome. Yeah, I'll check it
I
out.
love it a lot. But that's my recommendation. So Out of the Furnace, Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind, or the greatest of them all, Jingle All the Way.
Yeah.
But okay, so we're gonna go into our Mandalorian season 2 finale, episode 8. Oh my god!
I wish I had like whatever instrument they used to play that.
Oh yeah.
So that I could do that every time you said Mandalorian. Spoiler time.
Oh yeah. So here's our spoiler. Please leave. Like this is. If you didn't leave for any of the other ones and you let this get spoiled for you, one, what the hell is wrong with you? And two, please don't let this be another one. I texted my friend who I knew hadn't watched it yet because he said he was watching it later this evening with his family, and I told him, do not look at Twitter at all. I've already seen spoilers. At this point, I had already watched it, but I just said, do not look at Twitter. You will get spoiled. And he replied, dude, I deleted Twitter today. And I'm like, smart man.
Smart.
Good call.
That's a smart move.
So please don't let this get spoiled for you, but we're going to go into spoilers now. Oh my God, Tank. Luke Skywalker.
I'm so glad that wasn't spoiled for me. You know what I'm saying? Like my wife, who started, I would say, around episode 2, creeping around, like looking like what's going on in here. You know what I mean? While I was watching it, and now she was like full on watching the entire episodes with me.
Nice.
She was sitting next to me on the couch. I was like, "Hey, that's an X-wing. Hey, I bet you I know who that is. I bet I know who that is." And as soon as you see the green lightsaber, I had goosebumps the size of Cincinnati, and I was just like,
dude,
so I'm freaking out. I'm freaking out, and like Moff Gideon, what a good bad guy.
There was this moment, I think it was right before he shot Bo-Katan, that I honestly thought they were going to kill him, and I went, please don't. Please keep him around for a while. I really like Moff Gideon.
Yeah.
He's like such a good bad guy.
The scene where this episode, by the way, just without like saying, like kissing too much ass, this episode, I don't know how they pulled it off in 46 minutes to make it be as great as it was.
I know. There were moments in the episode that I was just like, how far in are we? We've covered a lot already.
You get an Easter egg a little too quiet, a little too empty. You know what I mean? Like, that's a shout out to Star Wars. It's a little too quiet.
Yes.
They're in the compactor. So you get Easter eggs. This show, by the way, one of the best shot TV shows I've ever seen in my life.
100%.
The Dark Troopers, when they're on the side and that is some like really incredible cinematography. And then just the emotional toll it takes on you while you're watching the show.
Do we?
And let okay. So like the way they've humanized Star Wars.
Yes.
Like to the point
100%.
where he's got the doctor and he's like, I'm gonna shoot him.
Yes!
And she shoots him in the face with that is just like not anything. That is like such a lethal weapon move
100%.
that you just don't expect to see in a Star Wars movie. And to see it is just like one of the, I audibly said, woo!
Yeah, so
You know
I think we should go off from there and just cover, like, I know we already talked about Luke a little bit, and we're going to talk about him more, obviously, but I think we should just run through the timeline of this episode for what we can remember. Because so much happened that I'm sure other things are front and center in our mind to talk about. But to add to that, because that happened right in the beginning, was them capturing the doctor, the scientist or whatever, who clearly is the one doing experiments on Grogu. When they said, like, I was on the Death Star, I saw Alderaan get destroyed, and she's like, which one? I was like, damn!
Yeah, that was a solid.
Oh my God.
See, that's what I'm talking about, though. That's so humanizing of not space lingo talk. That's like, hey, we burnt your town down. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, oh really? I blew up your planet. You know
And
what I
then
mean?
they did
Like,
the whole like, and then they did the whole like, his response to her saying which one was something along the lines of like, um,
millions of people
millions of
died
people
on that.
died on those space stations, and I'm like, yeah, that's something we kind of talked about it last episode where we were like, Clerks kind of went into this about like the independent contractors who worked on the Death Star too.
What about the people working in the food court?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You listen to the Intergalactic Panda Express serving up Sichuan beef.
And all
Next
of
thing
them
you
are
know,
blown
hey,
sky high.
can I get out of here? Can I clock out? Because I think there's a war going on in the
Yeah.
ship. You know what I mean? Like
Um,
it's basically a planet.
and honestly, like that whole moment with I know everything going on with the actress, what's her name, who
Gina
plays
Carano.
Gina Carano. I know everything going on with her is kind of touchy, but I will say, after I saw that scene, I was like, you know what, regardless of who she is, I love Cara Dune. I love her character because that was awesome.
Her personality is kind of repugnant. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not because she can believe what she wants to believe, but her attitude about it's kind of gross.
Yes.
But my God, that is a
Yep. A very awesome character.
that's a good
Awesome
character.
character. So they rescue the doctor. They kidnap the doctor. Stop it. Stop. Watch our YouTube to watch. Never mind. So they kidnap the doctor to get onto Moff Gideon's base, which, by the way, early on, I want to say, what was it, episode 4 or 3 or something, and we were like, man, those other Mandalorian characters are really cool, Bo-Katan and her 2 companions, and you're like, man, I hope we see them again. And I said, no, they have confirmed they are not coming back for any other episode in season 2. They lied. They lied to us.
And you perpetuated the lie. You're the biased media that spread the more lies.
They lied. It was them. And then I read it, and I said,
got so high for that.
It's because I'm defensive.
You sound like Redbone. Stay woke.
Stop it.
So the fight in the bar. So like the fight in the bar was awesome between Boba Fett and Bo-Katan's. I don't know her friend's name.
I can't remember her name. No, but that was so sweet.
She hit him with a rocket-powered tornado DDT off the table. That was dope.
Honestly, like, and they go into the whole like you're not Mandalorian. And he's like, this was my father's armor. And she's like, I've heard your voice. I've heard thousands of them. And he's like, it's the last one you will hear. And I'm like, get her Boba Fett. But don't, because I like Bo-Katan.
I like Boba Fett and Bo-Katan.
I love both of them.
We'll talk about that a little bit later, but that's going to blow up.
Totally. Absolutely it will.
So where were we? So we're on the ship now.
Yeah, we're on the ship. We got the greatest team up in Star Wars TV history, where we got Mandalorian, Boba Fett, Fennec, Cara Dune, Bo-Katan, her second, and then Boba Fett. Unfortunately, he goes off and flies on his ship. He goes off and sails away in Slave One, which I really was like, God, I really would have loved to see him fight, but I get why, because he was the getaway driver essentially. But them just as a distraction and just going through and killing every stormtrooper in sight was very entertaining. Especially when they're in that elevator and it's her with the jammed gun.
Yeah.
And then was like, do you need any help? And then she just slams it and you hear a and she's like, that's got it. Door opens.
And when they fly off the bridge and then there's like they come back up. Oh God, it's so good.
Yeah, it's very well done.
The fighting is so good.
It's really like a celebration of all different types of warriors in Star Wars, and I don't need lightsabers to love Star Wars. I appreciate them, but this show really proved I don't need them. And my God, it's so entertaining.
Well, typically, like, I've always wanted Star Wars to stick to the Skywalker saga because that's kind of like what I'm here for. But this is except for obviously Luke showing up in this one.
Sure.
This is not attached to that. This is a different thing. This is just a Western like in space, and I love it
It's
so
so
much
good.
because Pedro Pascal is amazing in this role,
Oh
bro.
my god, you shook everything. But yes,
Sorry. Yeah.
I love Pedro Pascal, and I think it was my buddy who said he wasn't that big of a fan, or like he didn't really know him that much, so whatever. And then it was after today's episode that he texted me like, Pedro Pascal has weaseled his way into my heart. And I'm like, because he's the best. I loved
He-
Pedro Pascal. I loved him to death, literally, in Game of Thrones.
oh, as a Sand Viper, yeah.
Yeah, when he showed up in that show, I was like, I don't know who this guy is, and I don't really care. But by the end of it, I was like, I love this character. I
Dude,
hope he lasts forever.
he was dope in that. Good with his spear in both shows, by the way.
Hey,
Um,
yeah, he was.
yeah, the the whole infiltration of the ship was awesome.
Very well thought out.
You got the straight up battle, then you got him sneaking around, which is cool.
Can we talk about how he sneaks around and he chokes out a stormtrooper, which I was kind of cringing at that moment. I was like, "Oh, this is real." You don't.
Yeah, no, that's the point though, like right? Because
Totally.
Like, when we think about Star Wars, we just think of these faceless goons getting blasted with lasers, and
Yes.
it doesn't occur to you that they're dying. But when he snaps his neck like a chicken,
Oh my
and you're like,
god.
oh, that's a guy in that suit. And now
Yes.
now he's a corpse. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
totally.
you know,
I was like,
it's-
oh
it's-
god.
it's kind of wild when you think about it.
It is wild.
And then,
Like you said, humanizing.
yeah, absolutely. And you get to the you get into the brig, and there's little Grogu. Dude, he really bounced back from eating the eggs. I feel like he's back to 100% cutie
yeah,
again.
time like prime, like he's on your hat, dude. Like
Yeah,
everybody
absolutely.
loves Grogu.
He's back to, he's back on the team because he was so adorable. He's just sitting there, and then Moff Gideon. The dark saber is cool looking
So
too.
cool, right? Which
Yeah.
so I knew all the implications with the darksaber thanks to the TV shows.
Uh-huh.
So when they bring Moff Gideon in, which by the way, great fight scene between Moff Gideon and Mando with the spear. Honestly, I'm happy he keeps using that spear because that's just one more part of his arsenal, you know? He's got the jetpack and now he's got the spear. So that fight was amazing. But when they bring him in and he's just like, whatever, take the darksaber, and Bo-Katan's kind of looking down at it like, oh shoot. I knew exactly what that meant. And you do have to, the way that the whole thing works is you have to beat the opponent in combat, and then whoever wields it is the one who can lay claim and be the ruler of Mandalore. Which means season 3 is essentially going to open with Bo-Katan and Mando duking it out, I think, because it has to. It has to happen. That's all she wants.
Here's what I thought about after I found that out. Do you think that Moff Gideon through the battle
Ooh.
like gave up? Like,
To like tear apart their ranks? Maybe.
yes.
Maybe. Though he definitely looked like he was just trying to betray or trick. I don't know if betray is the right word. Trick Mando. Because remember, because Mando does the whole like, I just want the kid. You could have your saber. I don't care. And he goes, okay, I've got him what I need. You can take him. And then it's him going to pick him up, and then him bringing the darksaber down behind him. So I think he had the intention of fighting him to begin with, but I think once he realized he probably wasn't gonna win, he was like, all right, well, let's make them fight each other.
Also, why would you turn your back on that guy ever?
Wielding a lightsaber? Yeah, I
Never,
totally agree.
never turn your back on that guy.
He was just so happy to see his little boy. He's so happy
Oh,
to see his little
I
boy. So yeah, that's gonna be interesting. And I saw something online, because in Rebels, because I thought the same thing in Rebels, one of the main characters, Sabine, gets the darksaber and just gives it to Bo-Katan. And Bo-Katan takes it and tries to say, hey, I'm the leader of Mandalore. But everything goes wrong, and Mandalore almost gets completely destroyed because of, well, not because of her just giving it away, but events later happen. So I think what people are trying to say now is the rumor or the lore or the legend of the Darksaber means so much to Bo-Katan now that she really is like, well, I really do just have to fight you for it, don't I? Or it could get worse for us. So that's exciting that we're gonna get that in season 3 because we will. Or who knows? Maybe Mando wins the fight and he has to keep the Darksaber and all the responsibilities that come with it, like a planet full of people, or a half planet full of some people. But so that was really exciting. Then we get the Dark Troopers. When they said they were droids, I was like, more Clone Wars stuff. Because
that also means you could do whatever you want to them.
What do you mean?
So like in cartoons, kid shows, PG-13, they make the bad guys robots so you can dismantle them, cut them in half, chop their heads off.
If only, what could possibly be powerful enough to do that? Because honestly, and if you remember, my prediction for the end of this season was Grogu was still going to be caught. A Jedi or whoever's not going to show up until like midway through season 3. Like that, those were all my predictions. All of my predictions were wrong.
Yep.
Because when the Dark Troopers are at the door, like breaking it down, I'm like, Mando, you've got the saber. You've got the Darksaber. It's time for you to shine and go in there and swing and kill all of them like you do. And then the X-Wing showed up. Which, by the way, because if a Jedi was going to show up, there was like 4 options people had, and it was Cal Kestis from the video game, Luke Skywalker, Ezra from Rebels, and people were also holding out hope for Mace Windu, thinking that he didn't actually die in 3. So when I saw that X-Wing, I was like, that can only be one person, but I don't want to get my hopes up. So I kept it down low. I was like, they might just be teasing us. So when they're like, oh, it's a single X-Wing, and then Cara Dune's like, oh yeah, we're saved, or whatever she says to like kind of mock it. And then you see the green, and I was like, ooh, it could be. And then I saw his hilt. I saw the hilt of the lightsaber, and because I'm a toy freak for Star Wars, when I saw the hilt, I was like, oh my god, it's Luke. It's Luke.
First of all, it's green. It's only Luke. Luke is the only green.
Yeah, but there's so many other, like Cal Kestis could be anything from the video game. Ezra uses green, I believe, now.
I guess, okay.
Mace Windu uses purple, obviously. But, so there was still, and they could have also thrown a huge monkey wrench and been like, oh, it's some random new guy. So when I saw green, I was like, it's still maybe. But when I saw the hilt, that's when I was like, it's Luke. And you could see his black glove, and I was like, oh my god.
Well, the CGI, they did an amazing job de-aging it.
I looked up exactly how they did it. Because remember, we were kind of hoping that if they did Luke, they would do like Sebastian Stan because he looks just like a young Mark Hamill. But they actually de-aged and did a complete CGI replacement on a body double, and then used Mark Hamill for the voice. Which, man, Mark Hamill sounds exactly as he did, 30 years ago.
Well, he's also a tremendous voice actor.
He is.
So.
He is. He absolutely is.
So watching his powers and his, everything. This is post Return of the Jedi.
Yep.
So it's like he's like at his peak. Like this is his peak. Like, and he just saws through the Dark Troopers, and it's so incredible to watch. The little kid in me who was in love with Return of the Jedi and the black outfit and the glove and the green saber and all that. I was just like, my ears did exactly what Grogu's did and turned up when he walked into the place. I was like, oh, and then when he crushed that last one when he did the force crush on the last one, I was like, oh my god.
Pulled one and sliced it in half. Like, oh.
Yeah, it's so good.
I saw something online today that was, I have a cool hallway scene like my father before me.
That's really funny.
It's pretty great.
It's really funny. So then you think about like, oh, okay, so this is Luke Skywalker getting his first student for his Jedi school
Hey,
that creates.
might not be his first student.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So maybe we'll see a young Ben Kenobi.
Yeah, because if this show takes place 5 years after, let's say Princess Leia and Han got to work right away.
Well, they did.
So Ben,
He's a scruffy little nerd herder. He ain't messing around.
Ben Solo would be 5 years old right now.
Mm.
So probably not at the age to start his training, but we could get a little Ben Baby Solo cameo. Who knows? We'll see. But everybody online is saying like, we know what happened to Luke's students. So is Grogu gonna die? And
no, I don't think so.
I think he's gonna be long gone before the fall of the school completely, because Absolutely. I think like you thought initially, and who knows, maybe you still think this. I think Grogu's gonna realize the Jedi life's not for him, and he'd rather be like his dear old dad, and be like Mando.
Oh yeah, no, I think that too. I think I think that it's not gonna, or he gets his training and he goes out in the world.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Yeah. And that was kind of a big part of it with Ahsoka, was Ahsoka saying, like, he doesn't want to be a Jedi. He hid his powers for so long. Like, he's not attached to them the way you're supposed to be. It's very interesting. It's very, very interesting to see where they go with it. That goodbye between... Oh. So this is what I wanted to ask you when we started the episode. Did you get emotional at Luke showing up, or did you get emotional at the goodbye between Mando and Grogu?
Different kind of emotional.
Okay.
The goodbye was just so heart-wrenching. You know what I mean? Like, because it's a lot of times in these types of shows where you got a hard ass like a Mandalorian guy that doesn't care about anything, and the goodbye can feel a little forced. It can feel, the caring can feel a little ham-fisted.
Yes.
So this though didn't feel like this is all.
So
this
deserved.
Felt so real and so heartfelt, where this guy just loves this kid and he is willing to do anything for this kid, time and time again, to save this kid's life, even let this kid go. That's how much he loves this kid.
And a very important thing for him, see his face.
No, right, exactly. Broke his code twice.
Yes.
Once to get the thing he needed to save him, once to say goodbye to him so that the kid, because, the kid probably never saw his face before.
Exactly.
Oh, and when his little hand touched his face, oh.
And then, like, early on in the episode, or in the season, I remember a scene. I can't remember if it's in the first episode or maybe the one with the frog lady, where he's lifting up his helmet just slightly enough that he can drink. And at the same time, Grogu's literally, like, trying to sneak a peek. He's literally like, what does he look like? And he never shows him. So that, as his, like, you're the one I'm comfortable. Like, oh, my God, dude, it means so much, and I love it. And Pedro Pascal, do you think Grogu was like, oh my God, it's the guy from Game of Thrones?
Maybe he might have been like, holy crap, it's the Sandpiper. Like so you remember the last episode, at the very end of the last episode, when he's like, he means more to me than he does to you.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like that's a callback. And it's also an amazing moment, and just so just what a great scene, and so emotional, and it was I would say damn near a perfect episode.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think we haven't even talked about it all that much, but R2 showing up as well was just another like little boost of serotonin. I was like, oh my God. It's him. And the great symbolism, or I guess, or the connection, I don't know, of just R2 and Luke Skywalker together, and this time they're coming to pick up and train one of Yoda's species.
Mhm.
where R2 and Luke are the ones who went and were trained by Yoda. And it's
Right.
like, that's why R2, I think, did his whole little like whistle jig, is because, oh my God, it's another one of you, you know? And it's just, oh man, it's so special. And it means so much. And I'm so excited to see where they're going from here. Who knows how much of Luke we're actually going to see in the next season?
I mean, probably not a lot because it's probably really expensive to do that
He
CGI.
looks so good. He
Yeah,
looked
it's really good.
exactly like he did.
Mhm.
So yeah, I don't know how much we're actually going to see of him. And remember, the show is about the Mandalorian, so I think we're going to get a lot more of him in the next season, less Baby Yoda, unfortunately. But my God, so much is going to happen. Do you have any hopes or expectations for the next season, Tank?
Well, I think that because we never found out who. There's somebody working on the inside with Moff Gideon. We never found out who that was.
What do you mean? Oh, you mean the
There's
one who
they
like
said
tracked?
somebody. Yeah, our source on the inside said the child is there. You know what I mean?
I think that was just some random dude on the planet, though.
Oh, okay.
Though
Well,
I
then I'm
would love
stupid.
if that was a bigger plot point, because I know Moff Gideon's still going to be around.
I'd love to see. I mean, I think we're gonna see a lot of the power struggle for the Mando stuff.
Yeah, for the
Like,
dark saber.
yeah. Grogu's probably gonna do some growing up. You
We
know what I
might
mean, and
see
some
some
training and
training.
stuff
Yeah,
like that. And maybe we'll get like a baby Groot situation where he starts to grow up and become a teenager. And
yeah. I would love if like the next time we see him, he's starting to talk.
right, yeah.
Like, how crazy is that going to be?
Like I
Oh
wonder if
my
he talks
God.
backwards. You know what I mean?
Well,
Like,
yeah, exactly. I wonder, like, if it's a Yoda thing or if it's a species thing that they talk like that. You know, I wonder if we're gonna get to see. I would love to, because since they still have Moff Gideon captured, I have a feeling we're about to see some New Republic stuff. Like we're
well,
gonna
and
get.
first order's got to be starting her sometime soon too.
Yeah, I don't know when that's starting up.
Yeah.
I don't really know the history too well of the First Order, so that'll be interesting to know when that comes into play, and hopefully we'll be able to see that in Mandalorian. I'm sure we're gonna see it in one of the other 15 shows that we're coming out with.
So many shows.
Um, but I think we're gonna get to actually see Moff Gideon get taken to the New Republic, and who knows what we're gonna see from there.
It's gonna be
Um,
amazing.
it's really gonna be amazing. It's the type of world building that I am excited to see. And you know what? I think it's pretty interesting that the sequel trilogy was not that loved and beloved, but the time in between the originals and the sequels, I think, is what's giving people the most excitement right now.
Yeah, without question.
And that's exciting to me. And I feel like it's going to be the same effect that going back and watching all the Marvel films had on me after watching Endgame, where I feel like after we get so much content in between those two timelines, when we go back and watch the sequels, we'll probably have a better time with them. And I just like Star Wars. And I want to keep watching Star Wars. I think I told my buddy, I was like, I must watch more Star Wars. I'm going to rewatch Rebels. I'm going to rewatch Mandalorian. I'm going to watch the final season of the Clone Wars again, and I may rewatch all the movies. I'm not sure, but I really, really am into Star Wars right now.
I dig it, man.
But I'm excited to see what's coming next. And you know, when season 3 comes out, we're going to be doing the same thing, and I'm really excited to do that again with you. This has been really, really fun and a great way to end the year.
Pumped. Yeah, I was really excited to do this, and it's been a lot of fun watching it with a critical eye. You
Yeah,
know,
because
pay more attention.
we've gotten to enjoy it as viewers, but also as people that we know. Like, oh boy, like the moment Luke showed up, I was like, this is gonna be a great podcast episode. But I think that's gonna do it for season 2 of The Mandalorian.
Oh,
I know. And the end of the podcast for the year, because we're not doing next week because we'll be off next week for the holiday. But I think our next episode would then be on January 1st. So we'll be starting 2021, you know, right off the bat. And Depending on the amount of content, we might start right away with our Wes Anderson rewatch, or maybe we just talk about what we watched over the Christmas break because we got Wonder Woman, we got Soul, we got a lot to talk about, and hopefully we'll be able to watch it all and talk about it all on the first episode of the new year. So
Nice.
I'm excited.
Nice.
But
Me too.
thank you all so much for watching on YouTube. You can find us at No Talking During the Movies. What are you doing?
I'm just telling everybody I love them.
Oh, that's sweet. Go to YouTube. There's our plug again, so you can watch Tank sign goodbye to you guys. So thank you for watching No Talking During the Movies on YouTube.
How you get L-O? I don't know.
And then thanks for liking us on Instagram, where we'll tease what the episode's going to be about and post our recommendations there. That's also No Talking During the Movies. But that'll do it for today and for 2020. How are you feeling, Tank?
Man, I feel great. I feel like 2020 could have been better. So 2021 will hopefully rule.
I'm going to go into 2021 as an optimist, but also
I like
because
it.
I don't have to pay for movie tickets for these Warner Brothers films.
Kind of optimistic, if you ask me.
That's pretty optimistic, but all right. Once again, I am your host, Stephen Austin.
I'm your old buddy Tank.
And for No Talking During the Movies in the year 2020, we out. Bye. Stop recording.